Imagine wanting a little privacy, but your entire home is basically one smoky campfire. There is no bedroom door to close. There is no bathroom door to lock. There is not even a polite little sign that says, "Please leave me alone." For ancient humans, privacy did not begin with walls. It began with distance, darkness, silence, and a very careful choice of where to sit. Archaeologists have found ancient hearths, shelters, stone tools, food remains, and living floors. Some of the earliest known hearths are at least 790,000 years old. That means humans were gathering around fire long before anyone had a private room. And around that fire, life was warm, social, noisy, and probably extremely hard to escape. Picture a small group resting at night. Children are whispering. Someone is cracking bones for marrow. Someone else is telling the prehistoric version of a story they have already told 12 times. And you are sitting there, silently wishing someone would invent a wall. But here is the first surprising thing. Ancient people were not helpless just because they had no bedrooms. They had something more flexible than architecture. They had space. In a camp, privacy could be created by moving a few steps away. Not too far, because predators existed. Not too close, because cousins also existed. The safest private place was probably not total isolation. It was the edge of the group. That edge mattered. Near the center, people shared food, warmth, protection, gossip, and attention. Near the outside, a person could repair a tool, calm down, think, flirt, grieve, or simply breathe. To modern eyes, that may not sound private. But privacy is not always about being invisible. Sometimes privacy means being less available. Even today, we do this without thinking. You turn your chair away. You stare at your phone. You walk into another room and pretend you needed water. Ancient humans had no phone screen to hide behind, so they used posture, distance, and timing. A person sitting with their back slightly turned was saying something without words. A person walking toward the trees was also saying something. Maybe it meant they were searching for firewood. Maybe it meant they wanted a quiet moment before saying something regrettable. The second kind of privacy came from darkness. Firelight creates a strange little world. Close to the flames, every face is visible. A few steps away, faces become shapes. A few more steps away, the night swallows details. That soft edge of firelight may have been one of humanity's first privacy screens. People could remain near safety while slipping partly out of view. No door, no curtain, just shadow. And shadow can be very useful when everyone knows everyone's business. The third kind of privacy was created by nature. A rock wall could hide a conversation. Tall grass could hide a short walk. A tree line could become a temporary boundary. A bend in a river could give someone a place to wash, think, or cry. The ancient world had no private rooms, but it had private moments. Those moments were borrowed from the landscape. A cave entrance was not just an entrance. A deeper corner was not just empty space. A patch behind a boulder was not just a patch behind a boulder. It was the ancient version of "I need a minute." Of course, this depended on trust. If everyone followed you every time you stepped away, privacy would collapse instantly. So ancient groups needed social rules, not written rules. Not rules carved on a stone tablet. More like quiet agreements. You do not stare too long. You do not interrupt certain conversations. You do not grab every tool you see. You do not crowd someone who is angry. You do not mock someone who is grieving. These rules may have been just as important as walls, because in a small group, conflict was dangerous. If two people hated each other, they could not simply move to another apartment. They still had to share the fire. They still had to share food. They still had to watch each other's children. They still had to survive tomorrow. So privacy helped protect relationships. It gave emotions somewhere to cool down. That may be one reason personal space feels so powerful today. When someone stands too close, your body reacts before your philosophy does. Your shoulders tighten. Your attention sharpens. Your brain starts asking why this person has entered your invisible bubble. That invisible bubble may feel modern, but the problem is ancient. Humans have always needed closeness to survive. They have also needed distance to stay sane. The trick was balancing both. Too much distance meant danger. Too little distance meant drama. And prehistoric drama did not come with a mute button. Privacy also depended on status. Some people may have had more freedom to step away than others. A skilled toolmaker might be left alone while shaping stone. A respected elder might get quiet space near the fire. A nursing mother might be protected by the group's attention. A shaman, healer, or ritual specialist might disappear into special places others avoided. This is where privacy becomes more than comfort. Sometimes being alone made a person mysterious, and mystery can become power. If someone knew where to find rare pigments, plants, water, or stone, that knowledge mattered. Not every useful secret needed to be shouted across camp. A private route could protect a food source. A private conversation could create an alliance. A private ritual could make ordinary fear feel manageable. So privacy was not just hiding. It was controlling access. Who sees you? Who hears you? Who knows what you know? That sounds very modern. But the roots may be very old. There was also privacy through time. In a shared camp, the same place could feel completely different at different hours. At dawn, a riverside might be busy. At midday, it might be empty. At night, a tool-making spot might become a sleeping place. Ancient humans could not always own space, but they could use time to make space feel private. This still happens today. A kitchen at midnight feels different from a kitchen at dinner. A street at sunrise feels different from a street at rush hour. Privacy is partly about who else is there. It is also about when they are not there. Now comes the awkward question. What about bodily privacy? Ancient people were not modern people with modern shame rules. Different cultures have very different ideas about modesty, bodies, and personal exposure. So we should be careful not to project our own embarrassment backward. Still, humans notice vulnerability. Washing, illness, childbirth, sex, injury, and grief are not just ordinary activities. They change how much protection and attention a person needs. So privacy may have appeared around moments when the body was vulnerable. Not because ancient humans were secretly Victorians in animal skins, but because vulnerability changes the social rules. Sometimes the group watches over you. Sometimes the group looks away. Both can be forms of care. That is the twist. Privacy did not always mean being alone. Sometimes privacy meant being protected from attention. A person could be surrounded by people and still given space. A group could know what was happening and still choose not to stare. That kind of privacy is very human. It requires empathy. It requires restraint. It requires understanding that not every truth needs an audience. In other words, privacy may have grown from social intelligence. The smarter our groups became, the more we needed hidden boundaries. Not stone boundaries. Emotional boundaries. Social boundaries. Invisible boundaries. And those invisible boundaries may have mattered long before architecture caught up. Eventually, humans built huts, houses, courtyards, doors, screens, rooms, and locks. But the idea came first. The wall was just technology catching up to an older need. Before private rooms, humans found privacy in distance. They found it in shadow. They found it behind rocks, trees, silence, and timing. They found it in rules nobody had to write down. They found it when other people decided not to follow. And maybe that is why privacy still feels so precious today. It is not only about hiding from the world. It is about having one small corner of life that still belongs to you. So here is the question. If you lived in an ancient camp, would you choose safety near the fire? Or would you risk a quiet moment alone in the dark?